This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. It's December 18th. Here are 17 quick stories that we're following this morning. Again, as always, feel free to text me at 773-766-5322 with any comments, questions, or ideas for topics. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. First of all, the markets point up this morning. Bloomberg runs an article, Goldman strategist lift S&P 500 target a month after setting it. So the markets have just surged the last month or two, a positive in general. Second, year to date, the NASDAQ is up nearly 43%, the S&P 500 23.4%, and the Dow 12.58%. So the index is having a great year this year. Third, Surgery Partners, one of the largest surgery center companies and short-stay hospital companies in the country, dropped 8.2% Friday, but is up nearly 16% year to date. Now, the good news on Surgery Partners is their drop in their stock price is due to a secondary stock offering where existing shareholders will sell shares into the market that were locked up. So it's not based on fundamentals of the business. It's based overall on that, sort of adding more shares to the public float. Fourth, Amazon is now up 78.5% year to date, simply amazing. Fifth, Medical Properties Trust, as most of the medical REIT business has struggled this year, it fell 7.7% Friday. Physicians Realty Trust, ran by John Thomas, in contrast, has done a great job outperforming the medical REITs this year. Again, Medical Properties Trust is down 55% year to date. Physicians Realty Trust is down about 10% year to date. The sixth story we're watching, the tragedy of Rudy Giuliani. Now, this is a fascinating mix of qualities in Rudy Giuliani. He reads like a Shakespearean play in how he acts and so forth. He was once so famous, so loved, and couldn't help just keep on searching to recapture that, it seems to me, and kept on searching so hard that became sort of a mockery of himself. On one hand, I give him credit for never losing his energy. On the other hand, he did seem to at some point lose his judgment, his rudder, and his common sense. It's a cautionary tale for all of us. I'll probably do a separate podcast on that today as well. Seventh, another article in the Wall Street Journal, Harvard is big business at its worst. The concept that they don't have shareholders that can force them to act a certain way. A great article in the Wall Street Journal. Eighth, Bitcoin is up year to date 150%. It's down somewhat today. I did not see it going up 150% this year. Ninth, one of my favorite authors is an author named Morgan Housel. I find him to be brilliant. He wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. Now he's got another book called Same as Ever, A Guide to What Never Changes. And one of the concepts he has on this is pessimism in the short run, optimism in the long run. And we'll talk about that in one of our separate podcasts today as well, like the Rudy Giuliani concept. 10th, well, Apple constantly seems to be facing new threats as the world's largest, most valuable company, the biggest market cap, $3 trillion. It's still at 52% year to date. It's fascinating to me to see how many different threats they face to their dominance and their strength that they keep on pushing through so far. 11th, Rolling Stone has a scathing article on Elon Musk. It's not so much the article is so interesting at all. It's more the fascination with the media on hating Elon Musk. Here's a person who really, for all practical purposes, it didn't invent the electric car, made it something that's actually a real thing. And it's something that progressives, the liberal media have loved. And it's amazing to me to see how much the liberal media and the ESG movement hate Elon Musk. That's not, I don't mean that to come across as too reactionary or too anything, but it's fascinating for me to watch this hatred of him when he's really taken on and led the total drive of something that so many people thought was needed for climate change. Fascinating to me how much he's hated by the media, but he does seem to be a multifaceted person. I think part of the reason the hatred for him comes is he doesn't work the politically correct game. He rather says what he thinks he wants to say, and it's really fascinating to me. 12th, and notwithstanding the article in Rolling Stone, Tesla's up 105% year to date. I've yet to move to an electric vehicle, but we might get there just based on watching the media. 13th, Wall Street Journal wrote an article today, "The era of big taxes are upon us." This is a piece on how wealthier Western nations have no choice, given the amount of deficits they have and the cost of servicing that deficit, to move towards higher taxes. 14th, Lucid, the electronic vehicle battery maker, fell 7.2% Friday. 15th, Uber is up 143% year to date. Also just amazing. 16th, City Capital keeps on trying to undo all the things that made them a conglomerate that Sandy Weill did, for good or for bad, and they've got to get their ship in order. No question about it. They're up 10% this year to date. They say they're getting out of the muni business, doing investment banking, debt raising for city and local governments. Fascinating to watch cities sort of try and get nearer and more profitable. Finally, 17th, a great story in something I read called The Athletic, which is a daily online magazine about sports. I think it's incredibly a well-done daily magazine. I actually love it. There's an article about an offensive tackle, Jason Peters, who faced so many challenges and now has a 20-year career as an offensive tackle, which is amazing. I know that's not a sports story, but I did love reading it. For those that follow me regularly, a different PS, we're down to one key for one of the kids' cars. I'm getting a second key, and one of the great dramas is where to hide that second key, so I'm looking for ideas on that. I'm just kidding about that. Thank you so much for listening to the Becker Private Equity Podcast. We'll have some separate episodes out today as well. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our magnificent producer, Chanel Bunger, the best in the business. Thank you, Chanel.